Hello, my name is Taya, and welcome to the Police Accountability Report. As I always make clear, this show has a single purpose, holding the politically powerful institution of policing accountable. And today, we have a breaking development on a story that we told you about just 2 weeks ago when we highlighted the case of Daniel Alvarez. Daniel was pulled over by a Los Angeles sheriff under false pretenses, as this video here shows. Well, over the weekend, Daniel was pulled over again, and the video he made of the stop is just as shocking as the first. But before I get started, I want you watching to know that if you have evidence of police misconduct, please email it to us privately at par@therealnews.com, and we might be able to investigate for you. And of course, you can always message me directly at Taya's Baltimore on Twitter and Facebook. And please like, share, and comment on our videos. It really does help us. And now we have a Patreon account called Police Accountability Report. So if you have a few dollars to spare, it would really help us keep doing these investigations for you. Investigations that the mainstream media just won't do. So check for the link pinned in the comments below. Okay. Now we finally got that out of the way. Now, as you may recall, 2 weeks ago, we reported on this January 2020 traffic stop involving Los Angeles resident Daniel Alvarez. He was pulled over by a Los Angeles County sheriff who said he had pulled across a line preceding a stop sign. Not that he had driven past the stop sign without stopping, mind you. He just didn't stop far enough away from it. And for this heinous crime, Daniel was put in handcuffs and the passenger of his car was arrested. Let's watch.
Me because you want to see what I look like. Be a man and say what you're stopping me for then. Don't be petty. No, I didn't break no law.
I'm talking to his mom.
Okay, off the phone.
This is ridiculous.
Okay, here.
What? Why do I have to get?
I'm not stopping you recording or anything.
I do, all right?
We didn't even do anything.
Right,
what is this for?
Because you're his attitude. Don't reach for anything.
We spoke to Daniel about that January 2020 incident, and he told us he had been profiled by the sheriff, and he says he has proof. That's because, unbeknownst to the police, the person with Alvarez recorded the police searching the car. What she captured shows an officer mocking Alvarez and even using an expletive to describe him. Let's listen.
That guy.
The sheriff's office actually arrested Alvarez's passenger for recording them, or, as they argue, interfering with an arrest. She was out to celebrate her birthday with Alvarez and instead spent the night in jail. But now there's been a new development in Daniel's story that not only proves his point about profiling, but reveals in a single video the true imperative of law enforcement in this country. That's because over the weekend, as Daniel and his friend were traveling to San Bernardino, California to visit a state park, he was pulled over again, this time for an illegal lane change. I'm not kidding. A man who has been harassed by police before was again forced to confront the threat of yet another bogus arrest simply because cops had decided he was worth pulling over. Let's watch what happened.
Good, thanks. I just stopped you because you cut that car off from you. No, I didn't. You signaled and you
your ID on you?
made a lane change.
Is your ID too, sir?
Oh, no, sir.
What's that?
No, sir.
It seems to me that you seen me go by the stoplight.
Ma'am, I need your ID too.
And you stopped me just because you seen what I look like.
The locals even mentioned it too. The ones following us
You
too.
on probation or parole?
Nope.
Are you on probation or parole?
No.
No, he's not.
Are you on probation or parole? Okay, and you guys are refusing to give me your IDs, right?
I thought that they didn't have to give you their ID if you just stopped me for
Well,
a
I'm
traffic
requesting it,
violation.
so are you going to give it to me or not?
Can you call your lieutenant or sergeant here?
I'm the sergeant.
Okay, can you call your superior here?
No, he's not working. I'm the top rank right now.
Huh.
So what did
There's
you
got to be
stop me
some.
Are you going to give me your IDs or are we going to go through all
You
this?
have my ID and I was driving.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to her and to you.
So it's interesting to note that the police officer not only immediately asks for ID from all of the passengers, but also asks if any of them are on parole or probation. Let's listen.
Us
Are you
too.
on probation or parole?
Nope.
Are you on probation or parole?
No.
No, he's not.
Are you on
No.
probation or parole? Okay, and you guys are refusing to give me your IDs, right?
And the situation becomes tense when a passenger in the car refuses to comply with the officer's request for identification. As you can see, the officer threatens the passenger with arrest, but he refuses to back down. Let's watch.
Okay, and you guys are refusing to give me your IDs, right?
I thought that they didn't have to give you their ID if you just stopped me for
Well,
a
I'm
traffic
requesting it,
violation.
so are you going to give it to me or not?
Can you call your lieutenant or sergeant here?
'Cause I'm telling you to.
I'm not getting out of the vehicle. I'm obligated to nothing for you.
You are.
I am
promise
not.
you.
I am not.
Rick,
I'm not walking back to my car without you.
give him
coming
your
out of the
ID
car
so we
saying
can get on our way.
I'm not giving you nothing.
Rick, listen to me.
Go ahead.
Give him the fucking
Yo.
ID.
No,
so
violate
we
my
can
rights.
go
I
on
want to
our
see
way.
the fuck
Rick,
out of you.
Hold on.
Hop out of the car.
give this
I'm not
motherfucker
doing
the
anything.
ID.
I'm not driving.
Rick,
I
give it
got
to him.
nothing to do with this stop.
Hey, listen, sir.
He's obligated, not me.
Sir,
Sir,
please
what?
don't
Do
touch
not
him.
touch me. Yes.
Don't touch
First
I
of all,
promise you. If
do
I'm
not touch
telling
me.
you to get out, you need to get out.
I
No,
promise you. No, I do
grabbing
not.
my door and opening it?
Yeah, you do not
You
need
do
to
not
open
need
that
to do
door.
that.
You don't need
Now
to touch
you're-
that door.
Hey, sir, you'd be placed under arrest right now just for
For what though?
For
Do
what?
it.
Okay, step one out, put your hands behind your
For
back.
what?
Put the cuffs on.
What is
Put your
he?
hands
Yeah,
behind your
what am
back.
I
I'm gonna
under arrest
handcuff you
for?
behind.
No,
Rick,
you're not.
Hold on.
listen to me, Rick.
No.
Give me your ID so we can
Give
leave.
it to him.
No, fuck this
Give
guy.
him your ID.
I want him
so
No,
we
I'm
can
not.
leave.
He's not gonna
Listen to me.
violate my rights.
Okay,
Nope.
but so what?
Call your boss.
We
Call the
already know
chief.
how to
Call the
deal with
captain.
this.
Nope.
We already know
Call
how to
the
deal with
captain.
this.
We don't
Rick,
need to make this a big
No,
deal.
yeah, we do.
Now, before we talk to Daniel about his latest encounter with law enforcement and why he can't seem to drive anywhere unfettered by cops, my reporting partner Stephen Janis has been trying to contact the San Bernardino police and get comments from them on the stop. Stephen, thank you for joining me.
Taya, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, first, you have sent the video to San Bernardino police and asked for comment. What have they said, and how did they justify the stop? And we've identified the officer, right?
Yes, I mean, it's Sergeant Abernathy is the officer you can see in the video. I sent an email to them asking them several questions. One is it normal procedure for an officer to ask people if they're on probation or parole? You know, I wanted to get a distinctive description of why the stop was made and what was the probable cause for asking for people for their ID. They got back to me and said they were reviewing the video and had sent it to the precinct where this stop occurred, but since then they have gone completely silent. I'm not sure how to interpret that. I will re-follow up with them again, but for now, they're not talking.
Now, once again, we are confronted with this idea that police can ask for the ID of the passenger in the car. What is the law and what are our rights in this situation?
Well, California does not have a producer ID law. In other words, there's no law that says that if police just walk up to you on the street and say, I need your ID, there's a law that says you have to produce it. If you're a driver, you do have to identify yourself. But the two passengers in the car, because the officer didn't have probable cause or wasn't investigating a crime, didn't have the right to ask for ID, and they had the right to refuse. So this really needs to be settled because police don't seem to understand the law here, and it's pretty clear in California and throughout the rest of the country.
You know, one interesting link between both stops is the fact that the officer asked all the passengers in the car if they were on parole or probation. What do you think the significance of this question is, and do you think it's a police policy?
Well, you know, it's significant because it talks about a concept that you'll be talking about later called blanket criminality, in the fact that you're taking a community of people and saying, well, you must all be under probation and parole. It's an incredible thing when you think about it. The idea that just someone being in a car is subject to that question because of the way they look, which I think we have to assume that's what it was about. So this is really sort of a tip that what this cop is doing is not stopping people to enforce traffic laws, but to enforce social boundaries.
And now, to get his reaction to yet another troubling car stop, I'm joined by Daniel Alvarez himself. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So first, please just describe to us the moments leading up to the stop. What did the officer do?
So we were driving and the weather up there was really nice. So all the windows were down and the intersections are real small. So as I passed through the intersection, he could see what I look like. As soon as he seen me, I seen him start like rolling through the red light to come after me. So I knew right away. I said, "Oh, he's gonna come after me." So he basically ran the red light, cut everybody off, and then drove down the center of the road to catch up behind me, and then cut everybody off, got behind me, followed me for about maybe 200 feet, and then turned his lights on.
And what did the officer say to you? At first, he said you didn't use your blinker, but later on the video, he admits on camera he saw you use your blinker. What is he saying here?
He kept changing the reasoning. First, he said that I didn't use a blinker. Then he said that I was tailgating. Then he said I had something hanging from the rearview mirror. So I just kind of highlighted to him exactly what happened. As soon as I went through the intersection, I literally seen him like, turning because the intersection's small. So he literally was turning his head, watching me go by, and then started running his red light to chase after me. So he was going to pull me over no matter what, just based on the fact that he's seen what I look like.
Now, I've had a few people ask, what do your tattoos mean to you? Do you feel people profile you because of your tattoos? So basically, what would you say to them if they judge you because of them? How would you explain it to them so they understand you?
So I think the tattoos right away, and then being Hispanic, the tattoos, right away people automatically assume, oh, you're a gang member, or oh, you're a hoodlum. These tattoos are from when I was a young kid. I think I had them all before I was in my early 20s. But as young as like 16, I started having them on my face. So, the lifestyle that I live today is very calm and peaceful. I work full time. I'm very involved with my family. I try to be as helpful to anybody and anything as I possibly can. I'm not out breaking the law. I do everything legitly. So it doesn't even bother me when they pull me over because I understand, like, oh, hey, he looks crazy. Let's stop him. That's fine. I can accept that part. Where I start having trouble is when they run my ID, they search my car, they find nothing, yet how easy it is for them to still proceed to lie and write tickets that they know did not happen. That's the part that scares me. I can accept the part that you drove by me, you seen what I look like. Hey, let me turn around. Let me see who this guy is. Maybe he's got dope and a gun. But you search my car, you run my ID, you see that I haven't been in trouble. Nothing comes up on your computer. Yet you still will falsely write tickets that you know are not true based on that you're mad. And what really scared me with this guy was that he was a sergeant. When I realized he was a sergeant, it really scared me because I'm like, this guy is supposed to be on another level of professionalism to where he can separate, profiling somebody, realizing you have nothing and then saying, okay, you have nothing, get out of here. Yet he still lied and wrote me 3 tickets that were not lawful. And then he threatened both my passengers that they'd go to jail if they didn't provide IDs, which they had nothing to do with anything.
Well, I would also like to know how your other passenger was doing. I think his name was Ricky. He stood on his right not to show ID unless suspected of a crime. What happened to him and how does he feel about what happened?
My brother has experienced this with me because, we're very close. So he's experienced this constantly with me because he's usually, my family experiences all these same things that I go through. They experience them too because, they're right there involved also. So they get a little bit angry when, my brother got mad because he's seen exactly what my girlfriend too. She was like, hey, this guy just seen what you look like. Look at, he raced out behind, cut everybody off, chased us down. There was a lady that was driving next to us. She pulled up next to us because it was pretty much bumper to bumper because everybody's going to the lake. And she said, hey, that cop, he ran a red light, cut everybody off to chase you down. He's really interested in you. And in the video, you could hear me telling her, yeah, it's because of the way I look. You've seen what I look like. And she said, oh, I think you look great. We welcome you to our town. And that's right after that's when he stopped us. So, my girlfriend, she was very angry. Like, why did you stop us? We really didn't do anything. My brother, he was just like, I'm not giving you nothing. And I just, I get worried with them because, we see it time and time again that really, I'm surprised that he didn't go farther than what it did go because, really they do whatever they want. We see it over and over and over. And what I've learned now is I start recording him right away. Like when I seen him start running that light is when I turned my phone on and put it in the console because I knew he was going to run the light, chase me down. I knew as soon as I was passing him and he started rolling through the light, I said he's going to chase me down and pull me over no matter what. And I've learned to do that today because it keeps him a little bit more accountable. But, still, they don't really care about the phone. It just depends on how they feel that day is how far they'll go. And that's the part that scares me,
It's interesting. One of the first things the officer says to you are you on probation or parole? What does that tell you? What does that say to you that it is the first thing you hear when a cop talks to you?
I hear that every time I'm stopped. Every single time I'm stopped, that's the first thing that comes out of their mouth. And I usually kind of laugh because right away I'm like, you think because I'm Mexican and I got tattoos on my face that you think I'm on parole? Okay, no, I'm not. Here's my ID, A lot of times it ends at that. They run my name, they search my car, and then they go, okay, get out of here. But this guy, he was for sure that I was on parole or somebody was on parole in my car, based on the way that I look.
It looks to us like the officer brandished the handcuffs after he asked for ID. Can you share with us what you witnessed?
So he actually opened up the back door and then reached in and touched the back passenger on the shoulder. And that's when you could hear him saying, hey, don't touch me. Don't touch me. And then he basically pulled out the handcuffs and is like, give me your ID. or you're going to go to jail. You know, he's threatening and intimidating to get his way. And of course, anybody that's scared of going to jail is going to, you know, do whatever they want. But unfortunately, you know, my brother isn't really fearful of them that much, so he can kind of push back. And he wasn't going to let him, you know, make him scared of a set of handcuffs. You can also see that the guy, you know, he's saying that they had to give up IDs, and you know, he tells them at one point that they'll both be arrested, but then he puts the handcuffs away, walks away, and then you know, we end up leaving without the back passenger, ever providing an ID.
I know you told the officer you were going to visit a park. Can you talk about what it's like to be accosted when you're out just trying to get some fresh air and do something healthy?
So that was actually my first time going there. A whole bunch of my friends went, and then some of my family went. They rented a cabin on the lake, and that's Big Bear Lake, California. So I was like, hey, let's go, you know, and we drove up there. The weather up there was so nice. So I put all the windows down in the car so you know, everybody could see in, and that's exactly like, and I had just told my brother and her like maybe 2 minutes before this, I said, man, I don't like driving anybody else's car because my vehicle now has cameras all the way around facing each direction. And so I said, I don't like driving anybody else's car because nothing's ever under, and literally 2 minutes later that happened. I was like, oh man.
So how much was the fine for the ticket he wrote you? And how much is this costing you?
I'm not sure, but I think they're like about $400 each. But I have no intentions of paying them. This time I'll definitely get a lawyer, and take it to court because, you know, they weren't real factual things. In the video I told him, like, you're saying that I broke the law, but you literally ran a red light, cut off 12 cars twice to try to get behind me. And that's why I understand why he was angry and still wrote me the ticket. It's like he was angry that I wasn't on parole. He was angry that I didn't have a warrant. He was angry that he didn't get to take me out of the car, take me to jail. And that's why it's really scary that a sergeant, you know, will falsely, unlawfully write a ticket that didn't really happen.
This is one of the multiple times you've been pulled over. You have faced retaliation from the LA sheriff and now this. How is this affecting you emotionally and psychologically? How are you getting through this?
Honestly, you know, I feel like a lot of times I have to hide from them. You know, even though I don't do anything wrong, you know, I have a license, everything, I'm completely legit, but I feel like I have to hide from them just based on the fact that what I look like, that they're going to interfere with my life, hold me there for, you know, numerous amount of time. They never end up finding anything because I'm not doing anything wrong, yet they'll still try to put something in my life to, you know, make some trouble. It's very stressful, very, you know, and me, I've learned to speak about it, you know, speak back to them. You know, they don't like when you talk back, you know, it's, hey, shut up, do what I tell you to do. And I don't necessarily lay down so much to them. But, you know, for the person that maybe is fearful of them, you know, they victimize people all day long. And it's scary that, you know, they don't have accountability to where they're held accountable. Like this guy, he's a sergeant. He should have been teaching that other officer that was there how to do the stop, how to do all that. Yet it seemed like the other guy was a little bit more I even asked the other guy, I asked him, hey, this guy stopped me for this, which is a lie, it's not really true. And he was like, well, it's just stop. And I said, okay, so if he's breaking the law, you'll follow with him too? You'll break the law with him, or you'll stand up and say, no, you know, just because somebody else is breaking the law doesn't mean I'm going to break it with them. I may tell them, hey, come on, what you're doing is not right. Stop. Get over it. Let him go, you know?
So as you can see from this video and Daniel's previous encounter with police, law enforcement is not the purveyor of public safety as it often touts as its primary goal. Instead, what we see here is an example of several concepts we've talked about quite often on this show, but I think are more relevant now than ever. The first is social boundary policing. As we see in Daniel's case and many others, police in many of these small cities are simply social boundary warriors, paid henchmen who patrol and surveil based on preconceived notions elicited from someone's appearance. As you can see in Daniel's case, the officer was not just enforcing social boundaries through bold fabrications of the law, he was also monetizing it. I mean, not only have you sent a message to Daniel and his friend that they are subject to capricious application of traffic laws, but you've also turned them into human profit centers, vulnerable citizens who can be milked for cash simply based upon the power and the bias of a single cop's interpretation of trivial traffic violations. The second principle at work is something we call blanket criminality. It's an idea that law enforcement is actually a tool of political hegemony and achieves this by stripping a community of its social agency through the power of criminalizing otherwise normal behavior. It results in a broad conception of a set of people, be it a race or a class, is presumed guilty. It's a bias that's reinforced with media depictions of working class people, and to put it frankly, people who are not white, as inherently and intrinsically prone to criminality. What's really stunning about these concepts is how often we have encountered them in our reporting. Let's remember last week, we reported on the predicament of Michelle Lucas, who was forced to plead guilty for passing counterfeit money. Her charges were dropped after our reporting, but her suffering was acute. Or consider the violent arrest of Lufti Salim captured on this body camera footage, a cab driver who was pulled from his car and almost immediately tasered by a police officer over, wait for it, parking in a no parking zone. In all these cases, innocent acts were presumed as grievous crimes, and in each case, unremarkable behavior was met with force or the threat of imprisonment. The point I'm trying to make here is that all of this mayhem, all of this chaos sown into the lives of people like Daniel is purposeful. All of the laughable applications of the law and intense scrutiny focused on people like him function as part of a larger system that fuels our divide and conquer system of casino capitalism. All the phony stops and the changing lanes BS is not just cops playing God and enforcing their personal biases. It's also part of an overarching political economy where policing provides the muscle for enforcing social and political inequality for the benefit of the few. So, just remember, when Sergeant Abernathy, seen here, pulls someone over who's minding their own damn business, there's a reason beyond pure harassment. When this law enforcement officer decides to apply the law in ways that are not just unfair, but absurd, there's an underlying imperative that drives it. He is, in a sense, the tip of the spear, so to speak, of a system that has forgotten the humanity of the people it's supposed to serve, turning them into profit centers instead of human beings with rights. Well, rest assured, we have not forgotten the value of anyone's humanity and will continue to report to remind the powers that be that we should not and will not forget. I would like to thank my guest, Daniel Alvarez, for returning to speak with us about his experience with the criminal justice system. Thank you. And of course, I have to thank intrepid journalist Stephen Janis for his writing, research, editing, and reporting on this piece. Thank you, Stephen.
Tay, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And I would be remiss if I did not thank friend of the show, Noli D, for her support. Thanks, Noli D. And I also have to thank our new patrons. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. And I want you watching to know that if you have evidence of police misconduct or brutality, please share it with us and we might be able to investigate for you. Please reach out to us. You can email us tips privately at par@therealnews.com and share your evidence of police misconduct. You can also message us at Police Accountability Report on Facebook or Instagram, or at Eyes on Police on Twitter. And of course, you can always message me directly at Taya's Baltimore on Twitter and Facebook. And please like and comment. You know I read your comments and appreciate them. And I try to answer your questions whenever I can. And if you want to help us continue to help our viewers, please consider donating to our Police Accountability Report Patreon, pinned in the comments section below. I promise there will be a few fun surprises there. My name is Taya Graham, and I'm your host of the Police Accountability Report. Please be safe out there.